This right here is the Lian Lancool 2, and I'm super excited to build in this because it looks like an awesome case for the price. Of course though, we won't know until we do build in it, so let's get started. Stay with me. Thermal Grizzly's Carbonite pads offer peace of mind, ease of installation, and industry standard performance in a market crowded with mediocre thermal compounds. Our own testing confirms that they conduct heat appropriately and provide a safe and consistent membrane between the die or IHS and cooler. Best of all, you can grab them in several sizes and reuse them as many times as you'd like. Carbonite pads are peace of mind in my book, and they're very consistent, and that's why I use them for CPU testing. Check them out via the link below. All right, so with the case out of the way, obviously that's kind of the point of this entire build. We're gonna talk about other hardware choices. I wanna go with something that makes sense. It's just a reasonable budget that fits the Lancool 2 nicely. I'm feeling somewhere around maybe $1,000. So I'm feeling Ryzen 5 or potentially Core i5, Core i7, although I have plenty of Ryzen processors as of late, so we'll probably go with one of them. And then maybe a 2070 or a 5700 XT, 16 gigs of RAM, a decent B450 motherboard, something along those lines. Again, it's gonna make sense with a sub $100 case like the Lancool 2. Welcome to the closet of goodies. Here on the left, we've got the motherboard selection. Obviously that's dependent on the CPU we choose. Let's just pick this one here. This is the B450 Plus Tough Gaming from ASUS. It already has a flashed BIOS to support Zen 2, so nothing crazy going on here. As for graphics card choice, I'm feeling either a 5700 XT or I don't really want to do a 2070 or a 2070 Super because those are just a bit more expensive. Possibly though a 1660, that would be pretty cool. The 1660 Super would make a bit more sense in that price range, but I don't have one of those. Eeny, meeny, miny, yeah, let's pick this one. Yeah, let's do this. Next up, how about a cooler? I am not inclined to throw a super expensive AIO onto this build because it doesn't really need to be super expensive. We could go with something like the Fuma 2, and I think a lot of you will be happy with this cooler in this price range. So yeah, let's do this. Now, as for drives, this is pretty subjective, but I think it makes sense in this budget to go with an SSD HDD combo. So something like an 880SU630, which is a 240 gig drive, good for a boot drive and some important files that you want loaded up pretty fast. And then we could choose, yeah, one terabyte WD Blue, tried and true. Now I know we're missing the CPU, and that's in the other room, but one other thing we haven't included yet is memory. Thankfully, a G-Skill came to the rescue here with a Ripjaws 5 kit, 16 gigs in total, so 2 8 gig DIMMs, 3200 megahertz, 161818 timing, and a nice dark gray stealth look here. These are Ripjaws 5 modules, and you can find them linked below along with all the other stuff here. But I want to give a big shout out to G-Skill because they sent this last minute for this build, and I think that these modules are the icing on the cake. They're not RGB blingy or anything like that. If you hate RGB, I think these are perfect for your build. First things first, let's get the case out, have a look at it, see what we have to work with here. Yes, I'm using a ruler to open a box. Just when you thought you had seen it all. You know, I've got to be honest with you, the longer I look at this case, the more deceiving it is from a price perspective. This does not feel or look like, in my opinion, a $90 case. This reminds me in a few ways of the Evolve X from Fantex. It's a stretch, I know, but there isn't much else like this on the market, and because it's so new and requires a totally different stamping process, I'm just that much more surprised that Lian Li was able to keep the cost down to under $100 here. This really, I haven't even built in it yet, and I can tell you this is gonna be one of my favorite cases under $100. Really impressed so far, but we still gotta build in it, so we got the parts over there. Let's put it all together. So we're going with the Ryzen 5 3600X because it's the only one that I have. It's in the Ryzen 5 Zen 2 category. The 3600 would be a better CPU, to be frank, just because you're not gonna get much else from the X SKU. But anyway, you guys ever tried doing this stuff one-handed? I do not recommend it. Ooh, mama. There we go. Next up, the sexy DDR4 modules, and you can see why I wanted the dark gray ones. They look awesome with this motherboard. Now it's time for the Fuma 2 cooler. And we've just about got this cooler bracket installed. You just can't go wrong with some TG Cryonon. Here comes the cooler. Here comes. It's really stupid. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I tell you what, folks, Fuma 2 nails the ease of installation aspect of a CPU cooler. A tip for first-time PC builders: once you have the CPU cooler secured, you can use it as a handle for lifting your platform and installing it into your case, which is what we're going to do right now. Also, don't forget to install your IO shield before you install your motherboard. You're gonna hate yourself, I promise, if you forget. And we're gonna drop her in like so. Should use that rear IO shield and kind of guide the motherboard into place. You can also reference the standoffs. Yeah, this is the boring part. Please hold. I'm gonna take this top fan here and move it to the front, so we'll have 2 intake fans and then 1 exhaust fan, along with 2 fans in the CPU cooler. They're gonna be exhausting air as well, or at least pushing air in that direction. I haven't priced this out, but I got a feeling it's gonna be around $1,000, which I think is a pretty good sweet spot, like I said, for a number of people out there. Obviously, it's not ideal for everybody, but a good mid-range build is gonna be between $700 to $1,000, and you're gonna be able to game in 1440p, no problem with this system here. Back in the closet just for a sec, I definitely forgot the power supply. Just totally overlooked. One of the most overlooked components in the system, and one of the most important, so kind of funny how that works. It's definitely important in higher end systems. For a mid-range build, I'd recommend anything between 80 plus bronze and 80 plus gold should be just fine. And for the system, 750 watts is frankly more than we need, but it will allow our PSU to run nice, cool, and quiet. This is a V750 from Cooler Master. Let's get it in the system. Another great thing about this power supply, it is fully modular, so you only have to connect the cables that you need. All right, and how easy is this actually going to be? Slides in, no problem. Get it all the way in there. Alrighty. I honestly think custom cables would look super nice in this build because most of the components are black, so whatever color we use would stand out, but that would also increase the budget or the price of this system. And look, if you've got money to blow, aesthetics can be what you focus on after everything else is said and done. I will also say these cable covers here actually come in super handy. Again, in a sub $100 case, it's super nice. Pepsi, could you not be in the shop, please? I'd appreciate it. Now, that leaves us only with the graphics card to go. GTX 1660 on deck. I need to remove this slot cover and the one right below it. All right, that was super easy. I also have a special place in my heart for these kind of mid-range cards here. The 1660 is a super light card and doesn't need a heavy cooler, and as a result, the card doesn't really sag very much, which is a pet peeve of mine, especially if it's the only PCIe card in the system. And here you go, a shot from the left side. You can see how the colors, what little colors we have in here, just blend so well. We have this kind of off gray Gigabyte logo here that matches the rubber vibration mounts for these scythe fans, and then we have the black G-Skill RAM, or almost black, and that complements the board with its black and almost black accents as well. Totally blacked out case. I'm thinking, yeah, this is a pretty sweet build for the price. And boom. I'll tell you what, makes for a super clean finish. I've got to be honest, I'm in love with this case. And just like that, she's all finished. I've got to say, once again, the Lancool 2 is an incredible case for the price. I'm actually going to be probably switching to this for my personal rig. This is just super simple. I can access drives from the front, so I could run a small NAS in here if I really wanted. And then it's the perfect size, in my opinion. I had no issues with cable management at all. It looks super clean on the right side, and you want it to look super clean because you do have a tempered glass panel over here. And the RGB is subtle. There's just RGB up front. You can see it's digital, so it does include some cool effects, but the build isn't totally blinged out, and that's how I wanted it. Like, non-RGB builds just look super classy, in my opinion. There are so many products on the market now with RGB integration, and granted, most of the time you can turn them off. I'd prefer to not even have to deal with it most of the time. And yeah, so that's what you get. You get this right here for about 900 USD. I wasn't trying to build the best system for the lowest price. That wasn't the goal here. I just wanted to show you what you could do with around 900 bucks. Obviously, we could have shaved off 60 bucks by using the stock cooler instead of the Fuma 2. We could have shaved off maybe 20, 30 bucks by going with a different power supply. We also could have shaved off 20, 30 bucks going with a cheaper case. Like, I've built budget PCs on the channel before. Not the point of this one here. Just wanted to showcase what you could put together for 900 bucks. It looks pretty darn good in late 2019 and going into 2020. So if you want to build a PC like this, you can check out all the parts linked below. But let's go ahead and end on another high note, the benchmarks. 3D Mark Firestrike pulls a healthy 12,630 in the 1080p resolution, placing us near the upper 30th percentile for all systems tested in this suite, which is pretty cool for only 900 bucks. It's worth noting that our CPU is very competitive in this segment given its price, and pairing it with an even stronger graphics card would be recommended if your budget allows. You have that breathing room, that's what's great about the R5 series. Now, moving on to GTA 5 and 1440p with very high settings, no AA, and no advanced graphics, our $900 system pulls comfortably above 100 FPS on average, with 1% lows dropping to just over 60. For folks with higher refresh rate displays, dropping in-game settings and even the resolution should push you well over 144 FPS. Up next, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. In the high preset in 1440p, we're still pushing roughly 85 FPS in multiplayer mode, and we still have plenty of breathing room to drop settings further for a smoother experience. Keep in mind, however, this will likely change from map to map and mode to mode. It's difficult to benchmark a game like this. Lastly, PUBG. This one's typically all over the place, and the case is no different here. In the medium preset, things average out to just under 100 FPS, but the 1% lowest frame average dips hard to roughly 45. More of a consequence of the game than anything else, but worth noting that the system can still pull its weight in titles that struggle with optimization. So that is all for this one. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Let me know if you did in the comments below. This is a pretty beast system, despite only having a 1660 in it. Obviously going for a super would be preferential, although they can be tricky to find at around $220. 1660 Ti or even RTX 2060 would be even better. Then you're stepping up into the 5700 XT and 2070 league, and by then you're in a totally different price bracket. So I think the 1660 is it's an okay card for 1440p gaming, even high-end 1440p gaming in some cases, although newer titles are definitely going to make the card struggle. And the 3600 or 3600X, depending on which one you go with, is it's just a sweet spot. It's a beautiful sweet spot at around 200 bucks. It destroys Core i5s from a value perspective and still keeps up with Core i5s in most, if not all at this point, games. Zen 2 has incredible IPC and not many channels talk about it. Again, you guys like this video, thumbs up, click that red subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. My name's Greg. Thanks for building with me.